Hi there everyone, James from the Bureau London here with your weekly health and wellbeing video. So this week I want to talk about growth and what that looks like, what it can mean and how it can be very different for different people or depending on things like circumstances, and just where you are in life in general. So I think growth is quite a big word. It can cover, quite a lot of things. It can be really big or it can be something very small. And I think it's all very dependent on what you see as growth. Potentially as an example, growth could be, before the example, growth could be obviously it could be anything to do with, exercise, health, that sort of thing, or it could be mental well-being, or it could just be, something, in terms of like your aspirations, like your goals. It could be something to do with your work, your job, or, anything along those lines. So you can see how it could be something big or it could be small. Growth could mean running an extra kilometre on your weekly run or your daily run, whatever it is, which, on the face of it is not a huge task, but it's still moving in an upwards trajectory. The other thing, it could be something extremely big, like losing, 5 stone or something like that, something that's going to take a bit longer, a bit more time. So I think we kind of but it's useful to have a realistic idea of how long these things potentially could take, and then you can kind of, you don't have to necessarily have a plan, but you can kind of map out what you're going to need to do to achieve this, a lot like with goals and things like that. And I think that growth is important for us because it stops us from being stagnant. And again, it hasn't got to be anything grandiose or big, but it can be at the same time. Whatever you feel you want to do or you need or can benefit you in your life at this moment in time, that's going to be helpful to you. And like I said, I think that helps us from being stagnant. And a lot of time when we're stagnant, we become bored. You could lose inspiration, you could lose motivation, without even kind of knowing it or even realizing what's happening. And I think that's a point where maybe you can become, down, and things like that. And I think it's always good to have kind of something to motivate you. So if we're always growing and continuously pushing ourselves to change and adapt and become better, or these kind of things, I think that is always going to be a positive thing. Growth is never going to be negative because we're moving in a upward trajectory. So I think it's important for us to potentially have these little, like we do with our goals, have these kind of things that we want to do, and work towards them. Again, it doesn't matter if it's small or big, it's all moving in the right direction, and I think that's always going to be a positive. So try and potentially, think of those things. And again, you might be doing these things without even knowing, especially if you're exercising and things like that. Usually you're doing something, you're, like I said, running a little bit further, lifting a little bit more weight, that sort of thing. So if we can kind of realize that we are growing without even having to really think about it or not push ourselves, but make ourselves do it, even better. If we've got to put a bit more thought into it and plan it out a bit, great. As long as we're moving in that direction, that's all that matters. So I hope you all enjoyed that video, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.